Thank you and welcome to the show for today. I am host Alana McLaughlin and you are watching Perspectives. This morning on Perspectives, I am discussing the impact of Black entrepreneurship in Nashville, and I have Tim Winn, Sharon Reynolds, and Dr. June here to discuss their backgrounds, their educations, their early careers, and ultimately the impact that they seek to leave in Nashville as Black entrepreneurs. And guys, I just want to thank you all for joining me this morning. You all look phenomenal. And to just start off this first segment, I'd like to talk about everyone's just background and education. Tell me just kind of what those childhood years look like. And Dr. June, I want to start with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. And I'd like to say that I am a lifelong learner and a serial entrepreneur. From childhood, I can remember just always selling something, all the way up to high school, selling out of my store, in my locker. So I believe that I've just always had it in my DNA. And I believe that entrepreneurship is what also gives you freedom, and it also gives you power. So I cannot remember ever not being an entrepreneur. So it's in my DNA.
And Dr. June, where are you from?
Well, I am from North Carolina originally. And of course, being an Air Force veteran, I'm from a little bit of everywhere, but now I call Nashville home.
And Dr. Tim, Mr. Tim, excuse me, I want to talk about that same kind of background and that education. Tell me just kind of what baby Tim years look like, that education, things like that.
Great, thank you. Originally from West Palm Beach, Florida. I had the opportunity of growing up with my parents who had ties with the Bahamas. So I saw my parents selling conch fritters and things for my grandparents. My uncle had a pharmacy of his own. So I was surrounded by entrepreneurs. They're not understanding it at the time. So that entrepreneurial spirit has always been with me. So.
Yeah. And Mrs. Reynolds, that same kind of background in education.
I thank you so much for having us. It's just awesome to be able to talk about entrepreneurship in Nashville. I'm a fifth-generation Nashville native. And entrepreneurship runs in my family genes. My father had a company back in the 1950s called T.H. Williams and Sons Body Shop. I just remember my Aunt Gloria teaching me how to sew when I was in the 7th grade. And by the time I was a senior in high school, I had 30 customers, my girlfriends and their moms, which really kind of spearheaded that entrepreneurship journey. So I love what I do, and we'll talk about some of the other companies that I've fostered.
And guys, to really wrap this first segment, I want to talk about you guys' individual entrepreneurship. Dr. June, I want to start with you again. Tell me what you do.
Well, I really believe in small businesses, and I help small minority businesses. I help them compete in supply chain by helping them access resources. And these resources help them with their products and help them get product placement, also help them scale their business and go from concept to reality in regards to getting placement if they have a product, help them get into retail, help them be able to compete with your top brands. And so a lot of minority-owned businesses are not able to compete with your Cokes, your Pepsis, your Frito-Lay. And so that's where I come in and help them get into supply chain.
And now, Tim, I don't know how you can follow up behind something like that, but brother, tell me a bit about your work, and Mrs. Reynolds about yours, and that's how we're going to wrap this first segment. But Tim, yes, tell me a little bit about I'm tongue-tied this morning, Lighthouse on the Lake, and the work that you do in the local community.
The Lighthouse on the Lake is an opportunity for me that came from my catering background. So I got my culinary training in Florida and came up here to go to school, and years later, Lighthouse on the Lake came about. So it's a venue, wedding venue opportunity that I look forward to utilizing for multiple uses throughout the community, training, facilitating young folks to be able to grow and foster their own careers.
Wow. And Mrs. Reynolds, I know you have Project Do It. I love how you're sitting here. You are head to toe sparkling. Please tell me what you do.
Thank you so much for that. Well, so I was 25 years old when I owned a mortgage company. I have a banking and mortgage banking background in real estate. So that just sort of spearheaded me to launch a company called Devmar Products, named after our two sons, Devin and DeMarco. So right at the economic downturn in 2008, I launched that company. And so from that, we have Devmar Global Healthcare Solutions, where we offer infection prevention products, and human donor breast milk for at-risk infants in NICUs across America. We also have Debmar Manufacturing, where we develop our own pathogen remediation type products. And we also have Bryla J. Couture Clothiers, named after our granddaughter, Bryla Josephine, who was born prematurely, which actually just had me just wanting to have something in her name to celebrate her life.
And in our second segment, we're going to pick back up on actually establishing these different businesses. We're going to talk about the Black entrepreneurs that we saw in the past here in town and the impact that we seek to leave in ways that the community can connect with all of us. And I encourage our viewers to tune into the second segment of Perspectives, where we will return to discuss the impact of Black entrepreneurship in Nashville. Another show for today. For viewers just tuning in, I am host Alana McLaughlin, and you are watching Perspectives. This morning on the show, I have three individuals here to discuss their careers, their business ventures, their entrepreneurial spirits, and ultimately the impact that they seek to leave as Black entrepreneurs here in Nashville. I have Dr. June, Tim Winn, and Mrs. Sharon Reynolds here discussing their backgrounds, discussing the work that they do, and ultimately ways that we as a community can support them. In our first segment, we discussed my three guests' backgrounds. We talked about where they're from and some of the early beginnings in entrepreneurship, that they've had. And we're going to pick back up in this second segment about just what these three individuals do and how we can support that. Dr. June, we're coming right back up. I know you have your consulting group, but you also have a magazine, and I know that you're holding the magazine here, but I'd like you to start with whichever business you'd like to and tell me the inspiration behind either your consulting group or the magazine, and then the actual execution behind that.
Okay, well, as an alumni of TSU, that's where I got my undergrad degree, and then going all the way up to my master's and my doctoral degree in curriculum, instruction, and assessment, I decided that I really wanted to be able to help small Black businesses. And I was mentored by Miss Rosetta Miller Perry that owns the Tribune, and being able to work with her as she built the stores in the airport. And I will say that Mr. Tim here, his products in the airport, I mentored him, and also Miss Sharon, her products are in the airport. And Sharon, her product was one of the first items to sell in the airport, and Tim's item selling really well. So seeing how I was able to be mentored by Miss Rosetta and build those stores, it led me to help businesses in another way. So my consulting firm, Show Consulting, which also represents about 7 other of my businesses and over 120 diverse suppliers that I helped get in the airport, I wanted to go global. So I produced a Small Black Business International magazine, which gives small businesses another resource to be able to expand their business. It gives them information about understanding the artificial intelligence. It gives them information about broadband internet. It also gives them information about building their credit, and also tips in regards to scaling their business. And so this magazine, it is a resource for small Black businesses to help them really be able to compete in supply chain and be able to build and grow their business and work on their credit health.
And Dr. June, I just have to ask, where did you get this background, this information from? Because it almost seems like this information is hidden. Because if it were readily available, everyone would, be with supply chains and putting products everywhere. And that's why I was so enamored with your story and with your email. I'm sitting here like, where did she learn this? I mean, yes, at TSU, but tell me about some of the on-the-ground experiences that you had to go through to kind of really learn about these resources.
Well, I consider myself an entrepreneur practitioner, and what that means is an entrepreneur has to know their role in their business, first of all. And once they know their role in their business, they will be able to grow their business. And then with that being said, I study business and how it works. And so there's so many different aspects of business. You have to know your marketing. You have to know your business plan. You have to know why you chose to be in business. And so before you become an entrepreneur, you have to know why. And until you determine the why, then you're not going to be a successful entrepreneur. And so some people are in love with the idea of having a business, but they're really playing business. And so being an entrepreneur, it's not a game. It's a real thing. And so I studied that. And so as a lifelong learner and a lifelong entrepreneur, some people, they really don't get it. And so I come in at that place and I really help people. So I'm really a walking business boot camp, you know, just to put it in a nutshell.
And Tim, now with a mentor like this, how can you go wrong? But I want you to tell me how, really from TSU onwards, how you've taken business and you're no longer just playing business, but you've actually executed everything from Tim's Southern Tea to Lighthouse on the Lake. Tell me that transition and just establishing these different businesses.
Yes, excellent. The culinary experience that I experienced as a young child in Florida was the, I guess, catalyst to go further. I was very curious of how food made people excited and happy. So I learned culinary arts, and my drive was, okay, I need to further that. In hospitality or tourism, I assumed a degree at Tennessee State University. And from there, you have to have some intern experiences. So those experiences helped me develop even more of my passion to create Catering Concepts by Timothy, my own catering business. And in that catering business, I prepared a beverage, and that ultimately came to be Tim's Southern Tea, that product that now is in Miss Perry's store at the Tennessee Tribune.
And I hate to cut you off, but just tell me, I mean, you're making this tea for the catering company.
Yes.
How does it go from just Tim's Tea, Mr. Tim Winn's Tea, to a branded item selling in the airport?
Well, that's where Miss June come in. Miss June came in to now how to put this raw product and actually make it into something that you can actually sell and serve the community. And Miss June was that catalyst, that person, that relationship, that collaboration, and to put the know-how into something I love to do and make, and to actually bottle, label, and actually put it in the store. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Reynolds, I'm hearing these stories, Lord, I'm like about to jump out of my seat. Tell me, again, with your collaboration with Dr. June and how you just full-fledged just took off with your different businesses.
Well, thank you for that. So, you know, generational wealth and impact is what we all need to be about as entrepreneurs. And I'm also a proud alum of the inaugural executive MBA class at Tennessee State University.
Oh, wow.
But I couldn't be more proud and grateful for all the work that June has done for so many. And to be a part of the Tribune store at the Nashville International Airport, where over 80% of the vendors are African American, is something that's unheard of. So I want to thank her for that. But as we look at my journey has been born from just a long line of entrepreneurs. And when the economic downturn hit in 2008, the company I named after our two sons, Devin and DeMarco, now Devmar as the brand, was born. And so it spawned into so many things. So now we have relationships with Fortune 500 companies where we are helping them keep their workplaces safe. We're developing different products and technologies across the whole spectrum of business. And as we continue to grow, I'm always looking at impact on what we can do in our communities and how I can expand that across not just the United States, but around the world. So it is impact and generational wealth is what my focus is.
And do you kind of feel you use those same mechanisms with Bryla J. Couture, kind of that same mindset?
Well, absolutely. There's a story behind that. Bryla was born prematurely.
And in our third segment, I hate to cut you off, but
yes.
I want to say that for our final segment, we're going to pick back up on the story of Bryla Josephine. We're going to talk about that business, and we're going to just talk about ways that we can support you three awesome individuals. I encourage our viewers to tune into the final segment of Perspectives, where we will return to discuss the impact of Black entrepreneurship in Nashville.
My TV 30 is getting hotter. With a very hot cast. Chicago Fire. Chicago PD. Doing what they do best.
Just do it.
Do it!
Let me see your hands!
And that's turn up the heat. Too hot to handle and way too much heat. Watch Chicago Fire. Chicago PD. Only on My TV 30. Hot.
I'm Craig Melvin.
I'm Andrea Canning.
And this
is Dateline.
Back-to-back Dateline on My TV 30. In-depth investigations.
We all came together by becoming volunteers to identify Jane Does and John Does.
Compelling real-life mysteries.
I was shocked, and it made me wonder, okay, now I need to look into this.
True crime stories.
The first thing they asked me was, who would want to kill you? Who would want to murder you?
Bone-chilling mysteries.
I think, what if this is your family? You want to give them closure.
Captivating police procedure.
Police were investigating every option.
Following the crime from beginning to end.
Really struck fear in people.
To the final segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, I am host Alana McLaughlin, and you are watching Perspectives. This morning on Perspectives, I have three individuals here discussing the impact of Black entrepreneurship in Nashville. I have Dr. June, Tim Winn, and Sharon Reynolds here discussing their careers, their backgrounds, educations, and ultimately the impact that they seek to leave on Nashville. In our first two segments, we talked about these individuals' careers. We talked about their individual entrepreneurship, some of the inspirations that they've had throughout the course of this entrepreneurship. And we're going to pick back up talking to Mrs. Sharon Reynolds about Briley J. Couture and talking about the inspiration behind starting this business. We just talked about DevMar Products, another business of hers. We're going to pick right back up where we left off in the second segment. And Mrs. Reynolds, we're right back to you. I want you to tell me the inception of Briley J. Couture and ultimately turning this into a business, into something phenomenal.
Yes, and thank you so much for that. So I think as an entrepreneur, there has to be a why. And why are you doing this? What impact do you want to make throughout your journey? And so my granddaughter, who is now 6 years old, was born prematurely. Her mom had preeclampsia, and we almost lost her. And so she made it through, and I was so inspired to create a name for her sake, to create a legacy for her. So that's where Briley J. Couture was born, where we designed a clothing line and took it into crossbody bags and accessories and things of that nature, and gaining some real traction across the United States. Again, the Tennessee Tribune is the catalyst for what gave us that start. So from that, we're building other brands from Briley J. So her life here today has created a legacy of what's going to happen tomorrow for Briley J. as we continue with all of our brands that we are fostering in our business.
And kind of a lasting thing that I've heard throughout this episode is the mention of Mrs. Rosetta Miller Perry of the Tennessee Tribune. A lot of people don't know that the Tennessee Tribune office is right on Jefferson Street, and at a quiet little building near One Drop Ink, the tattoo shop. And a lot of people don't know that the paper is readily available everywhere from Sweats to on campus at TSU to online to right there in the building. And so many people are here in Nashville who talk about, oh, we don't have enough Black entrepreneurs, don't know the goodness sitting right on Jefferson Street. Absolutely. And that leads me into talking about the impact that you guys seek to leave on Nashville. I think of my impact, and I want to highlight the Rosetta Miller Perrys of Nashville and the people like you all who are doing something. And that's what I want my lasting narrative to be. But I want you guys to tell me your why, and I just had to give Mrs. Miller Perry her flowers in this segment, because she truly deserves it, and she truly has done work for Nashville that so many people aren't aware of, especially at Tennessee State University. Yeah. If you go in our Performing Arts Center, there's a huge floor-to-ceiling painting of her, and it's deserved. She has truly opened the floodgates, in a sense, for this Black entrepreneurship in town. Now, I'm going to stop talking. I want y'all to tell me that impact that you all seek to leave. Dr. June?
Absolutely. The impact that I seek to leave is to continue to help diverse small businesses in Nashville, continue to help them get their business out there, for lack of a better word. When the Tennessee Tribune store first opened, in the first 6 months, the diverse products were outselling the other brands. You have your Cokes, your Pepsis, your Frito-Lay, etc. And it was a Black-owned spirit that had the top sales as far as the revenue. It was a Black-owned business that had the most selling units in the first 6 months. So African-American brands do sell, and African Americans also have spending power. However, their numbers are not promoted when it's time to promote the numbers in regards to the spending power. So my impact is to continue to help small, diverse businesses get product placement and to make sure that their numbers are counted and exposed when it comes to reporting the dollars, because there's so much money coming into Nashville, especially considering that Nashville is becoming an IT city and a destination place. So I want to make sure that small, diverse businesses get their just due, get their product placement, and that they are counted. So Show Consulting will continue to help small, diverse businesses get the marketing, get their credit, and get their product placement in supply chain. And Small Black Business International Magazine will continue to be one of those resources to also help educate them, help them get marketing, and help them scale their businesses.
And Tim, I see you smiling, and I know it's in your head, that same impact that you seek to leave on these Tennessee communities.
Absolutely. As Ms. Perry has done, and as you're doing, I think the most important impact we can leave is sharing our story, sharing the knowledge and experiences sometimes that we don't share face to face with our community, with our siblings, with family members, to know that through hard times you can still press on, you can still get through it. So I think sharing experiences, my testimony of where I've come from, what I've done, how I've accomplished being at the Lighthouse, having my own tea product, having my own catering business, and how that came about with our youth, starting in our school system. So getting into the culinary programs, or revisiting culinary programs in the school system, to let them know what they are able to achieve if they try. Yeah.
If you just put your heart in it.
Put your heart in it, absolutely.
And Mrs. Reynolds, to take us away, I want you to tell me that same impact you seek to leave. And after telling me that impact, tell us how we can support you and where we can shop. And then I'll go back through and we'll talk about just the different ways we can shop. But tell me that impact.
Thank you so much. Well, you know, I knew Nashville before Nashville is what it is today. I know what it means to grow up in a food desert. I know what it means to not live in my own home. And for the first 8 years of my life, I lived in Preston Taylor housing projects until my father became a fireman who was one of the first firemen to successfully integrate corporate headquarters downtown Nashville. So my impact is that I want to make sure that my legacy that I leave is impactful to the next generation. I know what it means to support our young girls and give them a vision. Let them see us as the example. And so let us lead in a way that is going to be impactful to them in the next future, in the generations to come. So Nashville is a great city. It's come a long way. It's got a long way to go. But we are making impact here. And for Mrs. Perry, who has been so much the voice for the voiceless, for her to leave behind her legacy, that what she is trailing right now has been amazing in this city. Anything we can do to support her, we will. Thank June and of course Tim for all that they do in this city. So Bryla J Couture clothiers and purses can be found online, brylaj.com, and then just be prepared, because we are preparing to launch a manufacturing conglomerate in the United States, so more to come.
Yes. Tim, plug yourself in, and Dr. June, you as well.
LighthouseOnTheLake.com, Catering Concepts by Timothy.com, TimSouthernTea.com, all things that you can get online as well.
And Dr. June, how can people get in contact with you?
Well, people can get in contact with me by email, showconsulting, CHAUX, consulting@gmail.com. And we also have people that don't travel, and so people can shop at the Tennessee Tribune store by going to the TennesseeTribuneStore.com. And with Show Consulting, we always welcome small businesses, and we love to work with them. And so we look forward to people contacting Show Consulting by email and just growing their business. And we are so thankful for being here and for this opportunity to be able to share information and hopefully help small businesses.
Not hopefully, you are helping small businesses, and I want to thank y'all for sharing your story with me and with our viewers. I actually can't thank you all enough for just the inspiration that you've left this morning, and just the stories of hope, of resilience, and of triumph in our community here in Nashville. And to our viewers, thank you for just allowing us the space to share these stories, and thank you for allowing me just another morning to share the stories that shape our beautiful community. Thank you and good morning.